In 1980, David Bohm, a colleague of Einstein, proposed that the brain does not create consciousness. It receives it. The way a radio receives a broadcast, a signal that plays whether the radio is on or not. Bohm was no mystic. He wrote a standard textbook on quantum theory. Most of his colleagues refused to follow him here. In his own words, the brain and nervous system respond directly to an order in the universal flux. He proposed that reality has two layers. The surface we see, he called the explicate order, a deeper ground that contains everything, enfolded and undivided, the implicate order. The brain, in his analogy, is the receiver. The implicate order is the signal. In the Upanishads, written over 2,000 years earlier, there is a structure many find strikingly similar. Brahman, the undivided ground from which all individual things arise. Many Advaita interpretations describe awareness as fundamental, not produced by the body, but something the body expresses. Bohm reached this through physics. The Upanishads reached it through direct investigation. Whether they describe the same reality remains open. And there is a harder question still, one the Upanishads asked, that Bohm's receiver model cannot answer. If the brain is the receiver, what is aware of the reception itself? This video maps all of it. Start with the radio. A radio receiver does not contain the music it plays. The signal exists in the air. The receiver tunes to it and converts it into sound you can hear. Turn off the radio, and the signal is still there. The music did not stop existing. The receiver stopped tuning to it. This is the image David Bohm used to describe the relationship between the brain and reality. Bohm spent his career on one of the hardest problems in physics. Why does the quantum world appear so different from the world we see? His answer was the implicate order. Beneath the world of separate objects lies a deeper order. The explicate order is the surface we navigate. The implicate order is the ground beneath it. There, everything is enfolded together, undivided, whole. He called the whole thing the hollow movement, reality as a single flowing movement, unfolding into the explicate, folding back into the implicate. A hologram was his model. In a hologram, every part contains the whole image. Cut it in half, and each half still shows the entire picture. Bohm proposed the universe is like this. Every region of space enfolds the whole. And consciousness, he suggested, is not produced by the brain alone. The brain participates in the implicate order, the way a radio participates in a broadcast. His exact words, from 1987. Consciousness is much more of the implicate order than is matter. This is where the objection must be stated clearly. The implicate order is Bohm's interpretation. It is a minority view in physics. Standard quantum mechanics does not require it. The Copenhagen interpretation, decoherence theory, both explain the experiments without any implicate order at all. There is a sharper version of this objection. The physicist Max Tegmark argued the brain is too warm and wet for quantum states. They would collapse in an instant. That objection sinks the popular idea that consciousness hides in quantum vibrations inside neurons. But notice what Bohm did not claim. He never said the brain maintains quantum coherence. The implicate order is not about particles inside neurons. It is a claim about the structure of reality itself. So the warm, wet brain objection misses Bohm. It defeats a different theory. And the brain receives consciousness is still a philosophical analogy Bohm drew. It is not an established finding in neuroscience. Mainstream neuroscience holds the opposite. Consciousness is produced by the brain, not received by it. This video does not claim Bohm proved otherwise. It maps a structural parallel. 2 proposals. 1 resemblance. Different instruments. Before the Upanishads, notice something directly for 20 seconds. You are aware right now. Ask yourself this. Is this awareness something you are generating or something you are receiving? Hold the question. Do not answer it yet. The Upanishads built an entire investigation around exactly this. The Upanishads do not begin with belief. They begin with a question. What is the ground of everything? Their answer is Brahman. Not a god in the sky, the undivided reality from which all separate things arise and into which they dissolve. The Taittiriya Upanishad describes a sequence of emergence. From the ground, the Atman, came space. From space, air. From air, fire. From fire, water. From water, earth. Everything unfolds from a single undivided source. This is structurally close to what Bohm called the implicate order. The whole enfolding the parts unfolding from the whole. The Sanskrit word for that space is akasha. One precise note here. In the Upanishads, akasha means the space element, the first to emerge from the ground. In the 19th century, Western occultists borrowed the word and invented the idea of Akashic records. That is not what the Upanishads describe. We are using akasha in its original, precise sense, the first unfolding of the ground. Now the receiver. The Chandogya Upanishad, in its 8th chapter, describes a space within the heart, Dahara Akasha. A space, the text says, as small as a point and as vast as the universe. The Upanishad describes it poetically. The text says it contains the entire cosmos, heaven and earth, fire and air, the sun, the moon, and the stars. This is the receiver image. Not the brain producing awareness, but a point of contact where the undivided ground becomes present in an individual. Bohm's radio tuning to the signal, the heart space tuning to Brahman. 2 descriptions. 1 resemblance. The individual does not generate the whole. The individual is where the whole becomes local. The Upanishads are precise about what this means for awareness. The awareness in you is not your personal possession. It is Brahman, appearing through the instrument of a particular body and mind. Remove the instrument, and the awareness is not destroyed. No more than the broadcast ends when one radio is switched off. But the Upanishads do not stop at the receiver. They ask the harder question, the one Bohm's radio analogy points toward, but does not answer. If the brain is the receiver and Brahman is the signal, what is aware of the reception? The Kena Upanishad asks this directly. The Kena Upanishad opens with a question about the source of perception. Its first verses ask, by what power does the mind think? By what does the eye see? By what does the ear hear? The answer it gives, paraphrased from the Gambhirananda translation. That which the mind cannot think, but by which the mind thinks, know that to be Brahman. This is the deepest point. The receiver does not perceive itself. The eye does not see itself seeing. The mind cannot think of the thinker. There is a ground behind the act of reception itself, and it cannot be turned into an object of reception. Bohm reached the edge of this. The brain receives the implicate order, but what receives the receiver? Physics has no instrument that can point back at the observer. The Kena Upanishad names the limit precisely. That by which all knowing happens cannot itself be known, not as one more object. Bohm called it the implicate order, the signal the brain tunes to. The Taittiriya Upanishad called it Brahman, the ground from which space itself unfolds. The Kena Upanishad called it that by which the mind thinks, and which the mind can never think. 3 descriptions, 2 from one tradition, 1 from physics, 1 recurring structure. The individual does not generate awareness. The individual is where an undivided ground becomes local. A receiver, tuned to something that does not switch off when the receiver does. Earlier, a question was left open. Is awareness something you generate, or something you receive? The Upanishads do not ask you to believe an answer. They ask you to look. Test this directly. Not as philosophy, as a direct observation. Right now, there is awareness. Keep your eyes on a single point in front of you. Notice that experience is happening. Sounds, sensations, this voice. Now ask, where is the awareness located? Is it behind your eyes? Is it a thing you can find? Or is it more like a space in which everything is appearing, without edges, without a center you can point to? Bohm suggested the brain is a receiver tuned to a signal. The Upanishads suggest the awareness you are looking for was never produced by you. You do not have to conclude anything, only notice how hard it is to find the receiver as a separate, located thing. In 1980, David Bohm proposed that the brain receives reality like a radio tuned to a signal. His colleagues called it philosophy, not physics. Over 2,000 years earlier, the Upanishads had described a strikingly similar structure. The individual as the place where an undivided ground becomes local. And the Kena Upanishad had already asked the question Bohm's radio could not answer. What is aware of the reception itself? 2 instruments. 1 recurring pattern. Ancient wisdom, quantum mystery, direct knowing. The next investigation follows the signal to its source and asks what happens when the receiver goes quiet. It is on your screen now and in the description.